Hey all, Heretic here with another Hearthstone Battlegrounds Player's Guide, and I'm here to bring you the information you need to help you win with Bru'kan. So get comfy and let's dive in. First, let's talk about the hero power Embrace the Elements. This is a free hero power that allows you to choose from one of 4 elements. First, Earth Invocation. Give 4 random friendly minions Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 elemental. This is at best kind of bad. Potentially in the first couple turns it could be useful just to break you out and get you an easy win. But realistically, the only other time you're really going to want to use this is Avenge. Not the best of the 4. Next comes Fire Invocation. Double your leftmost minion's attack. Now, this has some obvious value. If you have a big Wind Fury or a Cleave, double its attack, and all of a sudden it's going to do a lot more damage. So the potential there is definitely there for fire to do something useful. Water Invocation. Give your rightmost minion +3 health and taunt. Now, situationally, especially in the early game, this can be pretty useful. In the late game, you can use it to trick some people and do some, sneaky things that they won't expect, that all of a sudden something is taunt that probably shouldn't. And you can kind of mess with their board a little bit just with that play. Last is Lightning Invocation. Deal 1 damage to 5 random enemy minions. Now, this one is the one you're going to be using basically all the time. The others are all great and situational, but this is, if they have any Divine Shield, slam this, and odds are you've knocked it off without doing anything other than clicking the hero power. This one's really useful. You run up against a board of Divine Shields, someone running 3 or 4, you're definitely going to knock them off, at least some of them. Maybe not all, but at least some. So this is definitely the lion's share of what you're going to be using. Typically, when it comes to tiering with Bru'kan, I'm usually going to go basic or a slow Jeef, depending on how aggressive I feel I can be in the lobby. Most of the time, I tend to do the basic curve, but if I'm feeling a little more aggressive and I look at the lobby and I think I can pull it off, I'll try a slow Jeef. So when it comes to the minions and strats you're using when you're using Bru'kan, first thing, right off the bat when the game starts, typically you don't want to see dragons. Dragons are one of the few families that kind of will mess with the strat that I tend to go for, but play it as you see fit. Divine Shields are typically what you want to use. And the reason for this being is because of your hero power Lightning Invocation, you can basically shut down your opponent's Divine Shields. So if they have, a mech board or just a heavily invested Divine Shield board and you blow it all up with Lightning, they don't care. The reason why I don't like using it with dragons is because they're getting their Divine Shields usually after when the Nadina the Red dies. So your Lightning Invocation's wasted in this case. Typically, Divine Shields are how I want to do this. It's great with a mech build. Throw out a bunch of mechs, give them Divine Shield. If you get Omega Buster, next thing you know, your guys are huge. Your opponent has no Divine Shields, and you're ready to go to town because your guys are hitting at least twice each, which is pretty awesome. Shaker Comp is very good. Shaker Comp is where you get a Gem Splitter, Quillbore, and you get a Ground Shaker, Quillbore, and basically the rest of your board is all Divine Shield minions, and you will just pump all the blood gems you get into the Ground Shaker to buff them to phenomenal rates. Once again, your opponent's probably going to lose most of, if not all of their Divine Shields, and then you get to swing in for optimal damage. It's pretty good. Another thing you can do late game, especially, this is a very specific counter, but if someone's running a Leroy, you get a 1-attack minion you randomly buy, you put it on the end of your board, you give Water Invocation to it, all of a sudden it's got taunt. Leroy is completely wasted. Heaven forbid it's a Lich King and he's doing the trick with multiple Leroys and Reborn, and all of a sudden you basically shut his board down with that, or at least made it so it's not going to be as optimal as he wanted it to be. There's definitely different ways you can use these hero powers. It's kind of the nice play with this hero. You can really rethink it to each opponent, to each round, because you can do some tricky things. Now, when it comes to countering Bru'kan, probably going to be running a lot of Divine Shield. So Unstable Ghouls, always a safe bet. Stats. Just lots of stats. If you can't knock off his shields with a Ghoul, just make sure you have enough stats to absorb those Divine Shield hits. Don't rely on your own Divine Shields, because odds are he's going to counter them completely. Poison works pretty well too. Once again, though, you have to have the stats to survive his Divine Shields. Typically, they will be running this. Sometimes they'll just run a stat board, in which case you probably have the advantage just by using selfless heroes and whatnot. But, each board is each board. Just judge it best you can as you go. overall, Bru'kan is kind of a mid to low powered hero. You definitely can win with him, but it can be challenging at times. You really have to look at that hero power and go, what can I do? How can I finesse this into a win? You have some versatility. You can mess with your opponents a little bit because of that. Now, it's not overpowered, that versatility. That's why you don't see Bru'kan so much. That doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not explored enough for people really to get the hang of it. There's definitely some interplay you can get there with your opponent where they don't know exactly what you're going to do, and you can use that to your advantage with some mind games. So take a look. Try to think outside of how you usually play this hero. Try to do it a little better. Bru'kan definitely excels if there's no dragons in the lobby. If you're running heavy divine shields, that's a major defensive power gone, because dragons are great at countering divine shields, let's face it. In the end, I've attached a link with some gameplay. If you're looking to see how I powered them, stay tuned. I have more guides on the way, and I hope you learned a few things today and had a good time. I know I did. Bye.